Alright, here we are looking at the Jimstim waveform, and you can see it's putting out about 7.18 volts, and it looks like we've got about 3.59 positive or 3.59 negative. And here's the Jimstim setup. Right now I just have it hooked straight in to the this is the lead coming out of the Jimstim for the signal, and this is the ground, and I will hook it up to these two resistors that are running in parallel, and one of them is a 220 ohm, no excuse me, it's a 2.2 kilo ohm resistor, and the other one is a 4.7 kilo ohm resistor. Alright, now I've got it hooked up so that my signal is coming in here, it's going through both of the resistors, and this is actually where my ground's coming out now. So I've got my positive and my negative coming out here, and if you'll look, my signal is now putting out 4.84 to 5 volts total, somewhere into the 2.34 range up and 2.5 down. I think this is going to be what we need to simulate the signal in the BMW. Other things that I've done, I got in here and I disconnected the intake sensor. It is a one-piece unit, so I actually had to cut the wires to disconnect the unit, and the motor will run with this unit, with this sensor disconnected, and with the other. Let's see if I may not be able to see it very well. It's sitting right down in here. This is the exhaust sensor. Yeah, it's too dark. The exhaust sensor is sitting right down here. With both of those disconnected, the motor will run as long as the crankshaft position sensor is intact. And I've disconnected all three of them just to verify that it won't run with them all disconnected, but it will run with any one of them reconnected. Well, I've done one other thing here. As time went by, I noticed that my voltage was degrading, and it was because I was using a 9-volt battery, and it would get weaker as time went by. So I've switched over to a power supply here. It's actually the power supply to my oscilloscope. Puts out 12 volts at about 1500 milliamps. It's a little more than what this thing is rated at. It says between 300 and 1000 milliamps, but it seems to be working pretty good. I think as long as I don't stress it, we'll be alright. But I'm getting a more consistent voltage. But if you'll notice, my voltage at top is a little higher. It's 11 volts. And alright, once again, after much wailing and gnashing of teeth, I was able to get this down to where I've got 5 volts and 830 hertz. Jimstim's running. It's running off of a 12 volt power supply. And what I've got here is a 330 ohm resistor and a 1 kilo ohm resistor, and that's what's giving me my perfect signal. Okay, I'm just verifying once again that this is the signal I'm getting out of my crankshaft position sensor. And you see it's putting out the nice square wave, 58 pulses, and this is 2. Got 5 volts total, 2.34 up, 2.65 down. The green one is the signal on pin 8, and the yellow one is the ground on pin 21. Once again, that is the signal I'm getting out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap into those and hook my Jimstim up now and see what happens. Okay, this is my Jimstim signal now that I've got it sitting over here. It's a little low, 4.68. and I've got it hooked into pin 21 and to pin 8, and I went and attempted to turn the car on. It cranked over a few times and then it started on its own because I still have the other crankshaft position sensor actually connected to the motor, so it started up. So I can't tell if the Jimstim actually did anything. When I was just cranking the motor, it did not seem to recognize the Jimstim, but once it started running, once again I couldn't tell if the Jimstim was producing the signal that it was using or if it was using the one off the original crankshaft position sensor. So what I'm going to do next is actually disconnect the crankshaft position sensor and spin the car and see what happens. Alright, there's my signal right at 5 volts. Jimstim is on and everything is connected the way it's supposed to. The crankshaft position sensor is disconnected underneath the car. It will not respond to cranking the motor over with the sensor disconnected and the Jimstim putting out a 5 volt sensor directly into the ECU or the DME. This is James from North Mississippi with another failure. Alright, what we've done here is I've got my Jimstim set up so that it's putting out about 150 hertz or 150 RPM at about, it's almost 5 volts is what it's doing when the power's on. And we turned the ignition on and turned it into the start position for about 1.5 seconds, long enough to get the motor going, turning, and then I turned the RPMs up, the hertz up to around 700 or maybe 1,000. I was doing it pretty quick, and I could hear the injectors going and the coils trying to fire, and the tachometer came on the dash. So I'm going to try this again, and I don't know if I'll be able to film it, but we're going to give it a shot. Alright, if you will, turn it on. Alright, that's the injectors you hear going. Do we have tack on the inside?
Yeah, 3,800 RPM.
Alright, let me take that down a little bit. It's about 35. And
that's 2,000 there.
That's about idle. That's about 700.
That's it, yep.
Alright, we're going to come in here. And look at that. We finally have success in North Mississippi. And my tack's running right at about 700. All the gauges are on. Success. Alright, just for completeness, I had changed the resistors, and I've got 180 ohm in the front. That's a brown gray brown, and next to that is a 100 ohm resistor, a brown black red. Alright, here we go. This is the reluctor wheel, my 58 tooth reluctor wheel turning. My sensor, my spare sensor is hooked up. I've got the wires coming off of the sensor underneath the car that is disconnected. So it's getting the exact 12 volt signal in and ground, and it should be giving me a signal out, which it is. That's what we're looking at right here. It's giving me the signal. However, my signal is only about 900 millivolts, sometimes a volt, which is not quite what we need. And we've tried to go through the sequence of turning the car on and then flipping on the reluctor wheel, and the ECU does not recognize this, and I assume this is because the voltage is too low. Now I've got to figure out how to get my voltage coming out of my sensor up to the 5 volts that it should be.